Here we go. All right, so sugar, yum yum, everybody's favorite. I've actually watched quite a few documentaries on sugar. I'm kind of a TV nerd that way. I don't really watch television, but if I do, it's usually some history channel, some sort. And it's really interesting to watch some documentaries that have to do with how food is developed and how the history of foods. And one of them that I recently watched was the history of sugar and how years ago, which really, I say that like it was that long ago, years ago, as in when I was a child, people didn't realize that sugar was as addictive as it is. And in fact, the production of sugar was that in a way where they were just figuring out how to get sugar to absorb into products and to even stick to products. And it was a gold mine invention when manufacturers figured out how to get sugar to adhere to cereal even. And some of you watching might remember back in the day where we had to add sugar to our cereal and just dump it on there because it didn't, they didn't make it where it would stick on there. It just was not possible. And it was perfectly fine to do that. And as a child, I remember buying pitchers of, filling a pitcher of water with Kool-Aid and literally dumping in like a full cup of sugar. And now we think about this and we think about visually watching a child fill up a canister like this, 40 ounces with some flavoring, and then taking a half a cup of white sugar and dumping it in there. We would all be just appalled. But in the same token, we're really doing the same thing by the products that we're drinking. It's just that they're manufactured differently, and we don't see that the direct absorption of it, meaning that we're not actually putting it in there like we did years ago. Years ago, again, we had sugar cubes. We would just toss those in everything. And now things come already coated. Things come in ways where we don't even see it. And also, the biggest danger in sugar, besides the fact that it is 7 times more addictive than cocaine, and I'll explain that in today's presentation, is that sugar has been labeled, and I say mislabeled, by manufacturers in the sense that it has been created to have over 70 different pseudonames. And I call them pseudonames because the manufacturers have gotten smart, and they know that people look at labels and people stay away from sugar because they know the dangers of sugar. And they stay away from words that they know mean sugar, such as corn syrup, and some of the other ones that are really obvious. And so they've come up with over 70 different names of sugar that you might not recognize. In fact, I can tell you, you probably don't recognize. And a lot of them have been even masked in a way to make them seem healthy to the consumer. And so you would pick something up and go, oh, but this has, coconut sugar in it. And right away, we think it's healthier. It's still sugar. Or it has beet sugar in it. It's still sugar. And so today I want to kind of explain all of this, and I kind of want to open everybody's eyes to the dangers of sugar, but I also want you to realize that sugar is okay to have in moderation. It's just when we let our guard down and we don't realize how much we're taking in, how much we're letting our children take in, where it accumulates and it causes issues with our weight. But more importantly, it causes issues with our blood sugar. and creates the problem, of course, as we know it, as being pre-diabetic or diabetic. And so many children, so many adolescents are headed in that direction because of the overabundance of sugar consumption in our country. And because a lot of our products are just so laced with sugar, it's just really kind of this ongoing cycle that we can't stop. And I must share with you, I am a former sugar addict. Full disclosure, I've always had a sweet tooth. I have just always loved my sugar. And I didn't realize how bad it was, even during the times of me getting my weight to where I needed it to be. I still always had this sugar craving. And now that I do this, and I'm on this side of the desk, and I hear people texting me and saying, but I need to have my sugar. I just need to have a little something sweet. You really don't. You're being pulled by it. You're being pulled in the direction thinking that you need it. And actually you don't. And once you relieve yourself of thinking that you need it, you won't want it. And it's the craziest thing. And coming from somebody that would eat a lot of sugar, and believe me, the amount of dental issues that I have are unbeknownst to man. I mean, I could work at a dental lab and be the worst case scenario for sure, because of the issues that I have. But I can tell you that not only did it help with my weight, of course, but the biggest thing that I can tell you it helped me with is I have way more energy since I have given up sugar. Biggest eye opener for me was I don't have that mid-afternoon sleepy slump that we all get. And typically when we get that, we respond by having something sweet, some coffee that's got sugar in it, some caffeine, or a 5-hour energy. But it actually is only, it's like scratching a mosquito bite. It solves the problem just while you're eating it or drinking it, but then it just makes it worse. So I'm gonna explain all that. And then I'll even share with you how I was able to kick my sugar habit, and how I really, it's been probably 2 years, and I'm able to enjoy a sweet without going overboard. Okay, so I am going to share my screen with you now and go through the presentation. So just to confirm, everybody see this, my little sugar addiction. Okay. All right, so sugar. Here we go. Yes, it is highly addictive. And one of the things that I'm going to share with you is what causes it to be so addictive. It is something that we can't help. It is something that happens in our brains. All right, so first off, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's over 70 different names for sugar. They're mislabeled in the grocery stores. And a typical grocery store has about 80,000 items. Over 80% of those items have some sort of mislabeling. And when I say mislabel, I mean there is some buzzword. There is something that's going to tease the consumer to think that they're getting something that they're not. And I'm going to give you examples of that. Quick fix diet foods are amongst the things that have these sugars in them, which is what is so maddening. You know, you guys are all trying to lose weight, so you grab something that is seemingly a diet food, but yet that has more sugar in it than oftentimes candy does. Look for buzzwords, and I'm going to go over those and what to look for, and don't be a target. The bottom line is the dollar sign here is really what is leading all of this. And there's a lot of money floating on this, and we're kind of all behind it. All right, so sugar, it's not as harmless as you think. Well, could you really be hooked on sugar? Some people use sugary foods in ways that aren't healthy, even though it might not be an actual addiction. Some signs are you crave it. We really just feel like you need it. Another sign is you lose control. You might say, well, I'm just going to have a little bit of it, and you end up having a lot more than you planned. And then, of course, you eat or drink way more than you initially wanted to. So that could be an indication that you might be hooked on sugar. Why do you get a rush when you eat sugar right in the middle of the day? Well, it's because of the carbohydrate. It goes right into your bloodstream, and right away, you feel it. Your blood sugar levels will spike. In fact, if you were to take your blood sugar before you eat something, it would show a certain number. If you were to eat something, it will instantly show a spike. That's how quick it gets into your blood system. Your blood sugar levels are going to just pop right up, which means you're going to feel that rush instantly. Simple carbs are found in fruits, vegetables, dairy products, but these things have fiber and protein, so they're going to slow down the process. So if you were to eat something like berries, an apple, those have other forms of nutrients in them that are going to slow down that rush. But when you eat something like soda, candy, straight up table sugar, you are going to get that fast spike right away. And so that is the difference between having just a regular simple sugar and one that is a simple carb and a simple sugar. So sugar also, what goes up must come down. So your body needs to move to get glucose out of its bloodstream and into your cells for energy. So in order to do this, your pancreas has to do all of the work. So when you eat sugar, again, you get that spike, but then it has to drop. So you might not realize that when you eat sugar, you get that lull. Now, I will tell you this, when I gave up sugar, the reason I gave it up is actually I had a client when I was a trainer come to my house, and she was telling me she was reading this book on sugar and she was giving it up. Sugar also feeds cancer cells, and so she was doing all this for anti-cancer, and she was telling me that she stopped feeling that lull. So right away I thought, I don't like that afternoon lull. So I thought, I'm going to give this a try. So I gave up sugar for a day, which I will tell you was really hard. I had candy in every drawer in my gym, like every drawer. I had Tootsie Rolls here. I had, mints here. I had suckers there, you name it. So it was really difficult. After one day, I did not need my afternoon nap. I didn't have that midday slump. I was astonished. That was the biggest eye opener for me. And when I say sugar that I gave up, I mean candy. I didn't necessarily go crazy at that point and really watch other ingredients. I just gave up the candy. And I'm not going to lie, it was hard. But after 3 days, it was life changing. It really was. Starch can also equal sugar. So if you don't think that you have a sweet tooth, but you crave carbs, and I know people crave carbs because I hear it all the time. You crave bagels, you crave chips, you crave French fries. These are complex carbs. And even though you're allowed to have them on our program, you are allowed to have about 35 to 45 grams of carbohydrates in a meal. But typically, people will often have more than that in a meal. And when you have more than that, you get that spike and then you get that crash. And when that happens, you are right in that same situation. So you have to be really careful. And when people say that they fear carbs, it's because they're taking in too many. The magic formula, again, is not to exceed 45 per meal. And if you keep it at that, you're not going to go over and spike. And certainly, more importantly, rather, you should have the carb with a protein and a fat, because that's going to balance it. It's going to keep it from spiking. But typically, people eat this pasta, the breads, the pretzels, the crackers, all that, they eat it alone, which is causing the problem. All right, so here we have everyone's favorites. You know, the old, you can't eat one, you got to eat the whole bag. There has been so much research. I did have the actual number statistic. There is more research spent on how these chips not only taste, but the texture, the crunch, the size, the handling of them. You don't even know that by the time you have put one of these in your mouth, all of these, one of these has been in your mouth, you have already been sideswiped. It has already been figured out that that crispiness, the way it crunches, the way it rolls around in your mouth, the way it disintegrates, game over. The strikes are against you, because there are people that have gone to college and have studied how to get you to want more of this. So no, you can't just have one. Strikes are against you. So just know that before you have just one. And that's been changing for me, because I know that if I eat one, I'm going to eat 20, because these chips have been made to make me want more. Just the design of them. So be careful. The flakiness. Do you see all these little ridges? All these little ridges? Somebody spent years figuring out that these ridges feel really good in your mouth. Isn't that crazy? Like when you stop and think, these Cheetos, the way that they're all bumpy and crackly, that wasn't a mistake. That was done because you are going to want more. And yes, we always want more, for sure, for sure. All right, so your brain on sugar. Sugar fuels every cell in your brain. Your brain also sees sugar as a reward, which makes you want more. And obviously, if you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to need more sugar to break the habit, just like any other substance. So your body gets used to alcohol, then you need to have more alcohol to get that buzz. If you are somebody that takes Tylenol, it no longer works on your headaches. Well, with sugar, it's the same thing. Somebody that eats a lot of sugar is going to need to eat more sugar to get that sugar high. And so it doesn't just end with one little candy bar. Somebody that has a sugar addiction is going to eat a lot to get there. You're going to find yourself flavoring your coffee with more and more. And it's just going to keep getting higher and higher and higher. And we do see sugar as a reward. This was a big eye opener for me when I stopped and I thought about this. I have 4 kids, every single one. You take them to the doctor. As soon as they're old enough to suck on a sucker, you give them a shot. Here's your candy, right? They fall when they're little. Oh, let me give you some, some candy. They poop on the toilet for the first time. Oh, here's some M&Ms. I mean, we reward our kids with sugar. It's literally what we do. We have been cultured to do this. Now, I think it's gotten better, but it's just ongoing. It's, if you're good, we're going to go to the candy store. If you're good, you can have an ice cream cone. I mean, it's just the way we're cultured. And so it is really hard because we associate a reward with sugar. And a lot of this is just never going to go away, and it shouldn't go away. I mean, I always want to have cake on my birthday. That's a reward. But we also do need to kind of watch a little bit how we use that sugar as a reward, because there's lots of other things that we can reward ourselves with, and it doesn't have to be sugar. All right, so here is how the addiction works. First, you eat sugar, you like it, of course, tastes great, and it has addictive properties. 2, your blood sugar spikes. So what happens is right here, if you point between your eyes, dopamine is released. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in your brain, and it basically is the happy neurotransmitter. It's the same neurotransmitter that's released when we do anything pleasurable. And so when you eat sugar, that dopamine is released. It is the same neurotransmitter that is released when somebody smokes a cigarette, when somebody drinks alcohol, when somebody does cocaine, heroin. And so what happens is mass insulin is secreted, and after that, our blood sugar drops. So we've had our dopamine high, then it drops. Right away, if we've had too much sugar, we're going to store that fat, because more than likely we're not going to go running around the block. And if you do, then lucky for you that you burned it off. But more than likely, if you're a perpetual sugar eater, you're not. But you're going to crave more sugar. And so now you're going to go to number 4, and you're going to want to eat more sugar to get more of that dopamine release. And it's just going to keep on going round and round and round. And the reason why it's 6 times more addictive than heroin and cocaine is because unlike heroin and cocaine, sugar, you can keep increasing the amount of sugar that you take in without it having fatal results. Where with cocaine and obviously with heroin, you can't keep increasing the amounts without it obviously having fatal results. So it does have a perpetual cycle. But the good news is that you could actually break it. So this is a true image of somebody's brain. And this is the dopamine, the neurotransmitters that are released. And you can see here the green. This is what somebody's brain looks like after cocaine. And this is what somebody's brain looks like after sugar. It looks exactly the same, which is really, really scary. All right, so 85% of Americans are sugar dependent. That is an extremely high amount of people. And you might be sitting there going, well, I'm not. But the question is if I asked you to live without it, could you? If I asked you to not have it, could you? 60% of people don't know that they have this sugar addiction. You might put it in your coffee. You might have it in your tomato sauces. It is everywhere. And when you start looking at labels, you will be really shocked and surprised as to where it is. It is literally everywhere. And it is the culprit for weight gain and other major issues. Diabetes is one of them. Now, for me, when I decided to take sugar out, I really didn't think that I had that big of a problem. I was like, I'm fine with it. But when I took it out, the eye opener was that I was, I don't want to use the word detox because that's kind of a harsh word, but I would find myself rummaging through all those drawers that I told you about, looking for my candy. I was like, this one's got to have a stray Dum Dum in it. This one's got to have a loose Tootsie Pop in it. I mean, I was like going through old purses, like by day 3, looking for, there's got to be a Skittle in here. I realized after 3 days how dependent I was on it. It took everything I had not to get in the car and drive to Walgreens to get myself candy. I even went into the box of Lucky Charms looking for marshmallows. It was like I had this ravenous desire for sugar. And so that was really what was a shock to me, that I needed it. And I realized that all the years of plugging in little sweets was just pacifying that that desire for sweets. It wasn't extinguishing it. And using sugar-free things was also pacifying it. It wasn't extinguishing it. So there's a big misconception when people take sugar-free items to extinguish the addiction, because that does not actually work. So $72 billion in sales in 2019 in supplements, meal replacements, convenience bars, and weight loss support, which is astonishing. And of those things, 70 different sugar names. And all those things, I can tell you, you can go to the store right now and pick up protein bars. 80% of protein bars, too much sugar. I've done side-by-side comparisons of protein bars, Clif bars, Lara bars to Snicker bars, parallel in sugar. So you have to be careful. So eat real food. I always tell people eat real food. So here we have a cup of Greek yogurt. We do have some berries, some fruit, some crunch, 25 grams of protein. This is what I am getting you guys to eat instead of these convenience bars. All of this stuff, I'll tell you, has this sugar in it. And I think many of you have opened your eyes to this during the time that you have been on the program. So when you are out and about and you are shopping and you pick something up and you see these words here, light and fit, right away. I have such a problem with Greek yogurt because all of this Greek yogurt is loaded with sugar. What you guys look at, and maybe not anymore, what you guys look at is this: 80 calories. You look at light, fit. You look at the buzzwords, but what you're not looking at is right here, 13 grams of protein. What you're not looking at is the back, and the label on the back will tell you point blank that it's got the same amount of sugar as 1 scoop of this. No joke. And this is probably the top thing I catch in people's logs, tier 1 people that aren't losing weight. Instead of doing the plain Greek yogurt, they grab the light, and the light has the sugar in it. And I'm not kidding you, same as this. So you have to be careful. Sure, it tastes good, and that's why we love it, but you're fooling yourself in thinking that it's good for you. Here's an example of just some of the names. Made with real honey. Honey, sorry folks, is sugar. It's just a different form of sugar. You just got to be careful. No high fructose corn syrup. You might have that as a label, but it might be made with honey. And so now you're getting all that sugar. So you have to be careful. Made with real fruit. This is an old one, everybody knows. It could be 1% fruit. And so you have to zone in on this. When you see something that says low sugar, it really legally only has to be 10% lower in sugar than the regular brand. It's maddening. So when I see low sugar, I mean, I want it to be low. I don't want it to be 10% lower. 10% could be like 2 grams. That's nothing. So don't just look at the labels. In fact, oftentimes when I see too many labels on a product, it's a red flag. There's something wrong with it. You know, they kind of give it away by putting too many labels. All right, so these are the top buzzwords that are the red flags of this has too much sugar in it. Look at the grams of sugar on the product if you see these words on the front. Honey, agave, and nectar, fruit juice, molasses, coconut sugar, cane sugar, brown rice sugar. If there's a manufacturer that is slapping these on the front of their whatever it is, yogurt, oatmeal, cereal, they're trying to get you to buy it because they are not using white cane sugar. They're not using corn syrup. They're using honey, agave. And yes, there's a lot of great things about these things. There's nutrients, there's minerals and vitamins, but it's still sugar. It's still sugar. It still has calories. It's still going to spike your blood sugar, your insulin levels. It's still going to make you want to eat chocolate. So you need to stay away from it. And I actually laugh at this too, because when you really stop and think about it, is cane sugar any different than sugar? I mean, but it does sound so much better, doesn't it? It's like, but it's got cane sugar in it. I mean, or what exactly is brown rice sugar? I mean, it's still sugar. I actually have upstairs, I bought, I don't know what it is. It's like some fancy dancy, it might be coconut sugar. It doesn't smell like coconut. It doesn't, I don't know what makes it coconut sugar, but it's just sugar. So it was just a little bit more money when I bought it. So watch for these buzzwords. And yes, agave is great. Agave will not spike your blood sugar as much, but it has as many calories as honey, as many calories as sugar. And by the way, the average American consumes, and this is a true figure, Google it. The average American consumes 150 pounds of sugar a year. Isn't that crazy? And that's average. So, you know, there's obviously some people that drink a lot more of it than others, but or consume a lot more of it. And in that figure is included the honey, the agave, you know, the fancy dancy sugars. All right, so keywords: protein, carb, fats. But you don't want to have a carb with sugar. And if you're a tier 1 person and this is new to you, when you pick up a product and you see carbohydrate, don't freak out. Look at the label, look at the sugars. You can have crackers. You can have crackers if they're a healthy cracker and they're 35 to 45 grams of carb, but don't pick up a cracker that's got a ton of sugar in it. Most crackers, healthy crackers, won't have any sugar in it. And you can have that as your carb. Have that with your tuna or with your, you know, your mini meals, but not with sugar. Fats, healthy fats, not polysaturated fats. You want to have monosaturated fats. And so obviously you want to look at the ingredients as well. All right, so $2 billion in sales of protein bars. 70% of them have as much sugar as a candy bar. They are 4 times as expensive. The ingredients in protein bars are not FDA approved. I don't know if you guys knew that, but they are making Americans gain more weight. They're quick fixes and they are medical interventions. So when you go to 7-Eleven and you're like, "Guy, you know, I'm kind of hungry. I'm on this new diet. I'm just going to go over to this aisle here and I'm going to pick up this Cliff Bar or this Larabar." Look at the label. 22 grams of sugar, go over to the candy section. 22 grams of sugar, save yourself $3. Have a Snicker bar. I'm not lying. You are getting the same thing. Now, perhaps the protein bar might have a little bit more protein. A Snicker bar's got 12 grams. A Layer bar might have 16, but it's really not substantial enough for me to say to go out of your way to eat what you think is healthier. And that is why I don't approve of protein bars. The ones that are low in sugar are made of sugar substitutes that are kind of chemical storms. And oftentimes people will have digestive issues from overconsumption of them. So you just got to be really careful with that. All right, so let's talk fruit. Oh, this is the worst part of my job. It's one of the hardest parts of my job, is having to break the news to people that fruit is sugar. Fruit is nature's candy. The difference between fruit and candy is fruit has nutrients. You're going to get vitamins, A, B, C. You're going to get, fiber in some fruit. Some fruit doesn't have fiber. It's healthier for you. It's refreshing. But side by side, you have fructose, which is your sugar from fruit, and you have table sugar. But when you eat it, it is going to do the same thing. It's going to spike your blood sugar the same. It's going to metabolize the same through your liver and your pancreas, and it's going to turn to fat 1000% the same way. And I'm really sorry to have to tell you this. Watermelon is not just water. I don't know who came up with that one, but watermelon is probably the highest in sugar that there is. And it is so easy to go down. And it is very, very, very caloric. So one seedless watermelon, 280 grams of sugar in one seedless watermelon. Now, to put this into perspective, I like you guys to keep your sugar at about 35 a day. So one seedless watermelon, again, we're talking the size of a basketball, has 280. So whoa. And I always have to tell my watermelon, my cherry story, and I'll tell that after I tell the story. Cherries. So a bowl of cherries, 30 cherries, is 150 calories, which isn't terrible, but 20 grams of sugar. And again, if your daily allotment is 30 and you just had 20 in cherries, and 30 cherries goes quick, especially if you love fruit. And that's assuming you're counting them. So be careful. Neither of these fruits have fiber in them. So the fruits that I have you permitted on the plan are all the fibrous fruits. They're the strawberries, the raspberries, the blackberries, the blueberries, and the apples and the pears. Those all have fiber. So what happens is when you eat something that has sugar, but it has fiber, then your blood sugar does not spike as much. It kind of like knocks it down. It negates it. If you have something that is sugar with no fiber, there's nothing to negate it. So it's just sugar. If you're somebody that's diabetic, you can have sugar if you have fiber. So my watermelon story, and I'm sorry to ruin things for people. This goes right up there with hummus. I had done a long training run once over the summer, and I got home. It was like a 22-mile training run in August, and I was getting ready for my daughter's party. So I was hot, thirsty, hungry all at once, cut across this watermelon, cut it for the party. I'm like eating, cutting, eating, cutting. And in my head, I'm like, I really should see how much I'm eating here. So I put a piece on the food scale to get the gram amount. And this is years ago before I was measuring food like I am now. I was appalled because it was after I had consumed this amount of watermelon, but a regular basketball size, maybe bigger than basketball size, seedless watermelon, average size, I had eaten a quarter of it, which really isn't that much considering I'd run 22 miles in the heat. That was about 700 calories worth. And I was so mad because it was, of course, delicious, but I would have never, ever wasted 780 calories on that particular thing. And another story is I once stopped at Aldi, grabbed cherries, rinsed them off. I was in the car driving home, started eating them, and again, aware but not really aware. Got home and I had eaten way too many, so I decided to count the pits, and I had eaten about, I think, 40 of them. And took those cherries, weighed them. They were really large cherries. Well, long story short, I had eaten the equivalent of 40 grams of sugar of cherries, which is like eating 2 bags of Skittles. And so again, I ate cherries. Yes, I know it was healthy, but at the time I was trying to lose weight. So not good. 40 grams of sugar is a lot. In fact, I'll show you right here. This is how much of a sugar addict I'm not anymore. I've had this in my desk for I don't know how long, and it doesn't even faze me. There's 13 grams in two pieces of these. So how much did I say I had? 40. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's not even that much. That would be like eating 6 of these little mini Hershey's. But still, I would have never eaten 6 mini Hershey's. I was thinking I'm eating cherries and I'm being good. So be careful. Look it up. Don't let your guard down. Sugar is still sugar. And of course, there's my Snicker bar. All right, so best way to eliminate sugar from your diet. First off, cut out sugary drinks. If you're somebody that drinks orange juice, if you're somebody that drinks regular soda, ouch. If you're somebody that puts mixers in your vodka, switch to non-sugar. You are just drinking straight up sugar. And if you Google the words soda and sugar, you can actually see what a glass looks like. You're literally drinking straight up sugar. Eliminate desserts that contain sugar, even just one. And I know dessert is so much fun. But if you are really headed towards wanting a successful weight loss, gear towards some of the desserts that are in the program, the ones that are made with the protein powder and the caseins, because those have the protein and we're adding the healthy fat, and it's just going to keep your blood sugar from spiking. Read labels and watch sauces. By the way, ketchup is again one of my favorites, but I really should have that picture. There is a picture, if you Google it, it's a ketchup bottle, and next to the ketchup bottle is an empty ketchup bottle. And the empty ketchup bottle is filled almost halfway up with straight sugar to demonstrate how much sugar is in ketchup. Luckily, over the last year, all of these sauce companies have come up with a sugar-free version of, Sweet Baby Ray's and all of these sauces. But again, be careful with the artificial sweeteners. Use full fat items instead of reduced fat because of the hidden sugars. So if you're going to grab a light ranch, look at the label. They have to replace the fat with something, and it's sugar. And in your case, the type of diet that you're on, I'd rather have you have the fat. It's going to sustain your hunger, and it's going to keep that blood sugar down. Eat whole food and real food, and avoid and examine canned or processed foods for hidden sugars, because so much of that is in there. Eat more protein and fat. And if you're going to use a artificial sweetener, monk fruit, stevia, Urixthol, or Zyphenol are the best ones to use. And those are all found right on the back of labels. And of course, don't crave to temptation. How long does it take you to really clear this sugar habit? The truth to be told is it does take 10 days for you to do a full elimination of sugar. Your body will get used to not having it after 10 days. And a lot of it is habit too. You know, a lot of it is our routine. You know, we're used to having dinner and then right away we want a cookie. So, you know, the combination of you not having it anymore, physiologically, but then also behaviorally, you just won't find yourself wanting it as much. So if you are looking to kick the sugar habit, I'm here to tell you it's really one of the best things I've ever done. And there's been many times where the fact that I have this in my desk, I mean, it wouldn't even faze me to open them. I've had my daughter many times be like, Mom, do you want the rest of this? And I literally don't want it. If I'm at a party and I feel like eating cake, I'll eat the cake. I enjoy it, but I'm not driven like I used to be, that like ravenous. And it's just like anything else. I cleared it out and now I just don't want it anymore. So, so questions.
I have one for you, Irene. First, I have to say hi to Kimmy Bober, who's on here. Kimmy, we were friends when we were little.
Who's on here?
Kim.
Oh, I don't see her.
Any,
God.
are
Hey,
you
Beth.
there? Hi.
How
So
are you?
nice to see you? You look just as young as you did when we were little. So
Oh my God, you crack me up. You're so kind. You're such a liar.
that's true.
Oh,
Anyway, I had a question for you
Mhm.
about like the Fiber One bars, because you talk about, you know, if it has a lot of fiber in it, that's what I have been using with my 200 fun calories that I get to use. You know, I've been throwing in like a 70-calorie Fiber One bar.
So if it's something that you are using as it's like extra calories, and it's only 70 like that, that should be fine. Because and it also has the fiber to negate it. But let me look at because I'm not familiar with the I used to eat them all the time. I know that they have what, like is it
12.
11, 12
Some
grams
have
of
12 grams of sugar, which I didn't realize. For some reason, I just looked at it the other day. I just never even thought they had that in there.
Yeah, oh yeah, but what's the fiber on them?
The fiber is like 7 to 9. It just depends on which ones you eat, you know, 7
Okay.
grams, 9 grams.
Yeah, let me look.
Okay.
I'll look at it on your log, but you know, if you're using that as your little like dessert sweet treat, that's perfect. If you're using that as your mini meal, I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
If
No.
it's your little like sweet treat, like, you know,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
It's actually that's a good choice. Some other ones like that would be, you know, somebody was asking me the other day, I don't remember who it was, in addition to the casein, what else can she have? There's plenty of things, you know, you can go to down the ice cream aisle and find, you know, anything that has a low sugar amount, you know, 8 or under, ice cream sandwiches, skinny cow sandwiches. There's so many Weight Watchers things that are low in sugar and higher in fiber that you can enjoy as like a sweet treat that aren't considered like your meal. The problem would be is if you grab something like a Larabar, and I don't mean to bash on Larabars or Kind bars because they're healthy, but a Kind bar's got like 20 grams of sugar, some of them, because it's chocolate and dried nuts and seeds and dried fruit. And dried fruit is probably the worst thing you could eat, because not only is it fruit, but it's also been hydrogenized in unhealthy oils. So now, and sometimes they're rolled in sugar to top it off. So you're eating candy, you know, so that's a good choice. Other questions? Does anybody start watching this presentation, not thinking that they had a sugar problem, but now they're like, second guessing.
Irene?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Nancy.
Hi.
Hi, I just have a question regarding like Diet Coke or the zero water lemonades. Like, are those considered okay, or do they have like the hidden sugar kind of thing?
So anything that's diet. So first off, let me just address, if you're referring to Diet Coke as a little extra beverage for fun, that's one thing. But if you're referring to it as hydration to have for water, then that's a different different. So let
No,
me
just for fun.
okay,
yeah.
yeah. So to reiterate, you can have sparkling water that has like a sweetener in it, like those ice drinks and some of the bubblies. Those don't have, they have some sweetener in it, but they're like natural sweeteners, and those don't have any sugar. They're like zero down the board, including the sodium. Diet sodas have artificial sweeteners, and depending on the brand, it could be Splenda, it could be I mean, they're all different types. The verdict is not completely out, and I have a podcast on it, but there is some research that supports that the taste of artificial sugar in sodas, and even in like diet jellos and diet puddings, and especially if you're eating them a lot, like the what are those diet popsicles, that are just full of Splenda, and Pavlov's drooling dogs. Remember that from Psych 101, where the dogs would hear the bells and they'd start drooling because he would condition them to have a treat. It's the same theory. We taste sugar, but it's not real. So there's been research that it will cause a blood sugar spike, not as high as a real one, but we taste sugar and it may cause a real little spike and cause real cravings towards sugar. So you have to watch that on your own. I will tell you that for me, I'm never at my optimal metabolic best when I'm drinking diet soda. And I've been addicted to that too. And anytime I'm on the diet soda kick, I will tell you my metabolism is not at its best, because I find, and I've learned this for myself, when I'm drinking diet soda, I seem to want sugar. And so I took that out of the picture. And that is something that actually disgusts me now, which I can't believe, because I was like in McDonald's drive-thru every 3 minutes. So the dirt's coming out on me tonight. But for real, I mean, I was replacing one bad habit with another, and satisfying the sweet tooth with soda. But it was like this, I was like cat chasing my tail, because it was like never ending. So I think that you need to figure that out for you, because there's not solid research on it. But just kind of watch it. I will say that I have, and I'm not the only one, I've had other people agree with me that the diet soda and overconsumption of diet products causes people to want sugar. So, that's something that I can even help you with. You know what I mean? Like, coaching.
Yeah. I stopped with the Diet Coke for the most part, just here and there, but it was more the zero water lemonade, like those type of drinks is what I would see that I would have more during the day. Just I get tired of just plain water.
Yeah.
And I do the Mios too, but I just wondered if I grab that from the hospital cafeteria, if it's really bad to have the zero water lemonades, is that working against everything?
No, is that carbonated?
Mm-mm.
No, I think
No.
that those would be okay. I mean, I think that that's like the same as like
Okay. I just wonder.
Crystal Light. Yeah, for sure. But
Yeah.
if you start drinking that and then you're like, I kind of want chocolate, then that's a red flag.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So, Any other questions?
Irene, this is Heather.
Hi.
So two different drinks. So hot tea. So now that it's getting cold, I'm more into my hot teas. So if I just do plain hot tea, like I like the street hot teas with like the tea bag. So question on that. And then also wine. Like what do I need to consider for that?
Okay, so hot tea you can have. Are you meaning what can you put in it to sweeten it?
No, I can drink it plain. I just am wondering if there's like a sugar concern, because when I get the tea packets, at least where I order it from, they don't have like the contents. I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
like the boxes do, but like, is that a concern or that's totally not?
Usually, yeah, usually tea is has no sugar in it. In fact, I'd be shocked if it did. You'd be able to taste it or send me what you're drinking. And if it's caffeinated, if it's decaffeinated, it can count towards your water goal. If it has caffeine, then it doesn't because it dehydrates you. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, that part. Yep.
Yeah. And then as far as wine goes, lucky for you, here comes another one. Lucky for you, wine actually does not have a high sugar content unless it's a sweet wine. Your Rieslings, your rosés, all those are going to have a higher sugar content. Some of your whites are going to be higher in sugar. Your dry reds are very low in sugar, which is shocking. But a glass of red wine typically has about 2 grams of sugar. Your vodkas, your clear liquid, your clear alcohols actually have no sugar. As long as you mix them with something that doesn't have sugar, then you're fine with that. So having a glass of wine, as long as you fit it into your caloric balance for the day, is totally fine. And I've had many people, including myself, meet their weight goals by having a glass of wine the whole time throughout their journey. Now, keep in mind though, you do get that 10% calorie, intake that you can kind of splurge on what you want each day, which typically is like 150 calories, 180 calories, but you can only use it once a day. So, remember that it can't be on, the cookie and the wine and the latte and all that. So just be mindful of that. And you'll do great. Does that answer your question?
That does. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions?
And Patty was over there clapping with her. Did you see? That was cute.
It's almost wine time.
Yeah, anytime I can have wine, that's a good thing.
Of course. Of course.
So just, I do have a question on the, when you were talking about the 30 grams of sugar, I just looked at my log and everything like that, and I'm way over that. According to the Fitness Pal level, like the goal that they set up on the process. So should I monitor it better?
No. So when I say I like to keep people at about 35, so you're tier 1. When you're at tier 1, you're coming in with such a deficit that don't rock the boat. We're going to see a loss because you're coming in with such deficit. What I like to do is when I look at your logs, if I see somebody that's over 35, that's kind of like not losing. If you're not losing and you're way over 35, I would address it with that person. There's plenty of people that lose at 50. But 35 is kind of like my own little number that I will address if you're not losing. So it's too early for you to don't do anything yet with that. I will for sure catch it if it needs to be. And also I tell people that are tier 1, save that for like later when you're really stuck, and then we could start moving stuff around with that.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? No other questions? So you guys gonna do good for Halloween? That's a hard one. Yeah, you know, for years, years before I was in this industry, when I was overweight, I never understood why I was always a size or so bigger at Christmas. And it was way before the holidays. You know, they say your holiday weight gain happens. But why was I always heavy by Christmas? It made no sense. Like at Christmas, I was like trying to get into my pants. It dawned on me, it was Halloween. All that candy like finally catches up to you by Christmas. So that, you know, this is where that holiday weight gain starts, like this week. And we don't think about that, but it really does. You know, we would never sit down for all the years. I would never, ever, ever eat a Snicker bar. Like, who would do that? Like, when is the last time any of you have had a full candy bar? But I would sit down and eat a dozen or more little ones. So here's a strategy for you that will help. And if you take anything out of this, and by the way, I am doing a sugar addiction class that starts tomorrow night, and there is, I think, maybe 2 or 3 spots still left. So if anybody's interested, just go online. It's under bookings, or reach out to me and I'll tell you how to sign up. During that class, I'm going to actually teach you strategies of how to eliminate sugar out of your diet, like actual hands-on strategies. But this is one for Halloween. Do not throw any wrappers away. That is your goal. So when you eat your candy, you are not allowed to throw the wrapper away. You need to see the wrapper. So that is like my cherry pits. When I got home from my drive, I had these cherry pits. I was forced to see that I had 50 of them. You know, if I was at home, I'd be throwing them away as I was eating them. I would have no record of the 50 cherries I ate. So do not throw away your wrappers, and you will be staring at empty wrappers, which will actually make you eat less. No one wants to see that. You're not going to want to see that you are opening up your 9th M&M's packet. You're just not going to do it. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to do it. So make that your one and only goal for Halloween. You know, tell yourself you're going to have however many you're going to have, but the second you throw those wrappers away, burying it under the carpet. So, okay. Each one, 100 calories. So, all right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to go have my wine now.
Thanks, Irene.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Irene.
Hello.
Thank you.
How are you?
See ya.
Talk to you later. I'm not gonna make it. What? How did you not take that personally? How do you just
Why wouldn't it leave? They're all gone.